James Miller had learned to live carefully as a single father. Raising his 9-year-old daughter, Lily, in Chicago, every dollar had a purpose. Rent came first, then groceries. School expenses, transportation, and whatever unexpected bill appeared at the worst possible moment. James worked as a janitor at the prestigious Hayes Grand Hotel, a luxury property owned by billionaire CEO Victoria Hayes. The job wasn't glamorous, but James never considered honest work beneath him. Every morning, he dropped Lily at school before taking the train downtown, and every evening he returned home tired, but proud that he had kept a roof over their heads. The Hayes Grand was the kind of hotel where wealthy businessmen arrived in black cars and celebrities walked through private entrances. James usually stayed invisible. He cleaned hallways, emptied office bins, polished conference rooms, and repaired whatever needed attention. Most executives barely noticed him. Victoria Hayes was different, but not necessarily kinder. She was known for being demanding, organized, and extremely protective of her company. She expected employees to follow every rule. She rarely interacted with the cleaning staff, but security cameras covered almost every important area of the hotel. One rainy Thursday evening, James was assigned to clean an executive conference room after a private business meeting. The executives had already left. When he entered, he collected empty coffee cups and straightened the chairs. Then he noticed something underneath the large conference table. A black leather briefcase. James looked around. Nobody was there. He picked it up and immediately felt its weight. There was no name on the outside. He opened it only enough to identify its owner. His eyes widened. Inside were stacks of $100 bills. James counted quickly $100,000. For several seconds he simply stared. His mind immediately went to Lily. Her school had recently sent a notice about upcoming expenses. Their apartment rent was due in a few days. His car needed repairs. He had even postponed buying himself a new pair of work shoes because Lily needed winter clothing. That briefcase could solve almost every problem he had. But then he remembered something Lily had asked him the previous night. "Dad, how do you know when something is right?" James had smiled and answered, "You know, because you can still look yourself in the mirror." Afterward, he closed the briefcase. James immediately called hotel security. "I found something in the conference room." The security supervisor arrived and opened the briefcase. His expression changed. "That's $100,000. James nodded. "I figured someone must be looking for it." Unknown to James, Victoria Hayes was watching the security footage from her office upstairs. She had seen him discover the money. She had seen him pause, and she had watched him choose honesty. James handed the briefcase over, signed the report, and returned to work. He didn't ask for a reward. He didn't even mention his financial problems. Victoria continued watching the monitor. After he walked away for the first time, she wasn't looking at James as the hotel janitor. She was wondering what kind of man could find $100,000 and simply give it back. The next morning, Victoria made a decision. She ordered her assistant to call James into her office, and James had absolutely no idea why. The next morning, James arrived at the Hayes Grand expecting another ordinary shift. He had barely finished checking his cleaning schedule when his supervisor approached him with an unusual expression. "James, the CEO wants to see you." James stopped me. "Yes." "Her office now." James immediately wondered whether there had been a problem with the briefcase. Maybe the security department needed another statement. Maybe the money belonged to an important client, and something was missing. He took the elevator to the executive floor. When he entered Victoria Hayes' office, she was standing beside the windows overlooking downtown Chicago. "Mr. Miller," she said. "Miss Hayes, please sit." James sat carefully. Victoria placed a document on her desk. "You found $100,000 last night." "Yes, you could have taken it." James shook his head. "It wasn't mine." Victoria studied him. "I watched the security footage." James looked surprised. "You saw me." "I saw everything." She explained that she had watched him open the briefcase, realize how much money was inside, and then immediately contact security. "I also noticed something else." Victoria said, "What?" "You never asked what was inside before deciding to return it." James smiled faintly. "I knew it belonged to someone else." Victoria leaned against her desk. Most people would have at least considered keeping some of it. James didn't deny it for a moment. "I thought about what that money could do." Victoria raised an eyebrow. "And my daughter? What about her? She needs things, but she also needs to know who her father is." Victoria remained silent. James continued. If I kept that money, Lily might never know. But I'd know, and eventually I'd have to explain to her why I did it. Victoria looked down at the document. She had expected a simple act of honesty. Instead, she was hearing something much deeper. Do you know whose money it was? No, it belonged to one of our investors. James nodded. Victoria opened another folder. I've reviewed your employment record. James became cautious. Is there a problem? Quite the opposite. She explained that James had worked at the hotel for 4 years, without a single disciplinary complaint. His supervisors consistently described him as reliable, respectful, and trustworthy. Then Victoria pushed a document toward him. This is a promotion. James looked at it. Operations assistant, yes. He looked confused. Why me? Because I need someone I can trust. James hesitated. I don't want charity. Victoria smiled. Neither do I. This isn't charity. She explained that the hotel was expanding. I needed someone to help oversee daily operations. The position came with better pay, benefits, and a schedule that would allow him to spend more time with Lily. James read the offer carefully. Then he looked at Victoria. Why are you doing this? Victoria answered honestly. Because yesterday you showed me something money can't buy. James smiled. What character? James accepted the offer only after Victoria assured him that he had earned it. When he returned home that evening, Lily ran toward him. Daddy. Something good happened. James smiled. Yes. He hugged her. I got a new job. Lily's eyes widened. Are you still going to be my dad? James laughed. Always. And for Victoria Hayes, the lesson was just as important. Sometimes the person standing at the bottom of an organization is the person who deserves a place at the top.